They say betrayal never comes from your enemies. It always comes from the ones you would take a bullet for. An enemy cannot truly betray you because you already stand behind a shield, expecting their strike. But a friend, a brother, that is where the knife enters deeply, turning a trusted bond into a lethal weapon. What happens when the person you gave your life to, the one who knows your deepest vulnerabilities, is the one pulling the trigger? Meet Victor and Marcus. For over a decade, their names were synonymous with absolute power, brilliant innovation, and an unbreakable alliance. They started from nothing, sharing cold nights in a cramped, freezing apartment, surviving on black coffee and grand ambitions. Victor was the quiet architect, the subterranean strategic mind who operated exclusively from the shadows, mapping out financial empires with mathematical precision. Marcus was the face, the charismatic executioner who could charm any investor and close any deal with a single smile. Together, they built a monolithic corporation that dominated the global market. They shared massive wealth, dangerous secrets, and a brotherhood sealed by years of struggles. But power has a strange way of warping the human mind, and greed is a quiet, invisible disease that eats away at the soul from within. While Victor focused entirely on sustaining and growing their empire, a dark rot began to fester inside Marcus. He grew tired of being seen as the second half of a genius duo. He wanted the crown entirely for himself. The shared success was no longer enough. He wanted absolute, undisputed ownership. On a freezing winter night, while the rest of the city was buried under a heavy blanket of snow, Marcus executed a cold, calculated coup. For months, he had been meticulously forging documents, moving assets, and creating a fake paper trail. He leaked these highly classified, fabricated files directly to the federal authorities, framing Victor for a massive financial fraud. Within 48 hours, Victor's world utterly collapsed. He was arrested in front of his entire staff, stripped of his assets, and dragged through a sensationalized public trial. His reputation was ruined. Marcus sat in the courtroom every single day wearing a mask of profound sorrow, even testifying as a heartbroken witness who claimed to be shocked by his partner's alleged crimes. Victor was sentenced to 5 years in a maximum security prison. Marcus took Victor's grand corner office, inherited his leather chair, and enjoyed the stolen luxury. He truly believed he had committed the perfect crime, leaving no loose ends behind. But Victor was not an ordinary man. In prison, he did not rage. He did not scream for justice, nor did he plot a crude, violent escape. Instead, he practiced an absolute, deadly silence. He understood that anger is a waste of energy, and premature revenge is a fool's game. For 2 long years behind cold iron bars, Victor studied one thing: the precise psychology of Marcus. He knew Marcus's strengths, but more importantly, he knew his profound insecurities, his secret vices, and his desperate need for control. Victor knew that a man who betrays his closest ally will always live with a hidden, bleeding ulcer of guilt and fear. Meanwhile, on the outside, Marcus was living like a king, but the crown was becoming impossibly heavy. Every time a door slammed too hard in his office, every time an unknown number called his personal phone, Marcus felt a sharp jolt of anxiety. He tried to drown his nerves in excessive luxury, buying a sprawling, heavily guarded mansion on the edge of the city. He hired elite security forces, changed his travel routes daily, and monitored his food. He was terrified of the day Victor would get out. Due to good behavior and a brilliant legal appeal managed quietly from his cell, Victor was released 3 years early. The news sent a shockwave through Marcus's empire. Marcus braced himself for impact. He expected a physical assault, a drive-by shooting, a massive lawsuit, a public confrontation. He stayed locked inside his mansion for weeks, surrounded by armed guards, waiting for the monster to strike. But weeks turned into months, and Victor remained completely invisible. No lawsuits were filed, no threats were made. Victor simply vanished into the fabric of the city. Marcus began to relax, convinced that prison had broken Victor's spirit, turning him into a defeated, cowardly shadow. He believed he was finally safe. But Marcus did not understand the true nature of psychological warfare. Victor was not planning a murder. He was planning a masterpiece. He knew that the anticipation of a strike is always far more torturous than the strike itself. By doing absolutely nothing, he forced Marcus's own hyperactive imagination to become his worst enemy. The psychological game began on a quiet Tuesday. Marcus arrived at his high-security office to find a simple, unlabeled black envelope sitting directly on